Hello, or should I say konnichiwa, and welcome to the hills of Kyoto in Japan. This place is absolutely breathtakingly stunning, and if you haven't seen my previous vlog with this Honda GB350, then do go and check that out, because I head up the hill, check out a beautiful temple up in the mountains, a really cool biker cafe, a bike dealership in Kyoto, and the beautiful old town, so you don't want to miss it. But in this video I'm going to be talking about what this GB350 is like to ride, seeing as we don't get this bike in the UK. It's not sold in my country, so I was very eager to see what it's like, so let's get into it. So my initial sort of thoughts of comparison with this bike are the Royal Enfield 350, specifically the Hunter 350. This is an extremely similar looking bike, and it has a 350 engine. It's very similar power, it's a single cylinder, so on paper these bikes are very much on par. Starting off in the city of Kyoto in some traffic, the first thing I noticed was that the throttle is a little bit jerky. So when you're going stop-start traffic, when you come onto the throttle, it wants to jerk. Whereas the Royal Enfield doesn't want to do that. It's very smooth with the throttle. So I prefer that on the Royal Enfield. The noise it makes from this exhaust is pretty on par. It's not as good of a looking exhaust as the Royal Enfield is, but it sounds pretty good. I must say, before I carry on with the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe, because I am only partially 2 weeks into my 7-week tour of Asia. I'll be moving on to South Korea after this and exploring there. I'm meeting up with a chap who happens to be a Netflix star in Korea, so that'll be interesting. But he contacted me. He's got the same bike as me, a Moto Guzzi V7 Special, and he's going to show me around and hopefully ride some bikes together, so that'll be good fun. And then I'm going to Thailand. I'll be seeing my best friend James, and I'm hoping to be hiring a Royal Enfield Classic 350 out in Thailand, which would be absolutely fantastic. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. The colour that this Honda's in is really nice. I love this grey. It's a very, very cool looking bike, and it's plenty of black, so it looks really nice. I can see that the finish on the exhaust looks rather tired, so it's not really stood the test of time, and this bike's not very old. Let's have a look how many miles it's done. 15,900 kilometres, so that's not that many, but the bike, I mean, it's not in the best condition. The headstock looks like it's got a bit of corrosion starting to happen. The engine, a little bit of corrosion around there. I mean, it doesn't look like it's been the best looked after bike, because this is a higher bike, so I suppose they sort of give it a rough clean. I mean, it was pretty dirty when they gave it to me this morning, but it is what it is, isn't it? But perhaps if you look after it better, then it will stand the test of time much better, but who knows. You may have noticed within this video and the previous 2 videos that I've filmed while I've been out here that I've started using an Insta360 camera, and I'm over the moon with this camera. It's so good. I'm so glad to finally have it in my setup. I've got the Insta360 x4, so the 4th edition. I've also got this handlebar mount, mounts onto any bars actually, and it then mounts the selfie stick, so you can put that on the bars, have it up really high if you want, and then you can get a really cool view of the whole bike from below, or you can change it around in the angles using an Insta360 Studio. It films up to 8K 30 frames per second. I use 4K 50 for mine, but I'm really, really pleased with this camera. It lasts for ages as well. So if you want to get a Insta360 camera, I highly recommend them. The link will be in the description to go and check them out, but they are really, really good, and I'm definitely going to be using them in pretty much every video from now on. The 350cc single cylinder engine in the GB350 produces 20 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 29 newton meters of torque at 3,000 RPM. So very similar to the Royal Enfield 350s. Really, you can't notice much difference whatsoever, so they're very much on par in terms of performance. Now, the GB350 is essentially the same bike as the CB350 H'ness or Highness, which you get in India, which the Indians absolutely love. From the comments in our videos, we've had many requests to try this bike out. Unfortunately, I'm not in India, so it's not the CB350 Highness, but it is actually exactly the same bike. It's just got a slightly different name for the Japanese market and for the Australian market. Funny enough, this is for sale in Australia, but not in Europe and the UK. So I'd love to see this in the UK. Now, the quality of the parts is not as good as Royal Enfield, and I'm actually really surprised to say that, but the switch gears, the sort of instruments up here, very plasticky. The dial is very plasticky and not particularly good looking. It does the job, but the Royal Enfield one is much nicer. Other than that, like, the shape of the tank's pretty nice. The look of the engine is nice, not as nice as the Royal Enfield. The exhaust doesn't look too bad, but again, not as good as the Royal Enfield. You have got a centre stand and a side stand, same as the Royal Enfield. Mudguard, pretty plasticky, not that much coverage. But say overall, the Royal Enfield definitely feels slightly better quality than this, and that wasn't what I was expecting with Honda, but that has certainly turned out to be the case. So in Japan, this bike costs 605,000 yen, which converts to about 3,200 Great British pounds. So it's a very similar price to the Royal Enfield. Again, I'll probably go for the Royal Enfield. The handling is nice, it's very flickable. Perhaps at times it can feel a little bit twitchy, but it also means that in the really twisty lanes you can change direction like that. It's like a little wasp, if you like. I don't like saying the word wasp because there's loads of hornets around here, and you could probably hear that weird insect. I've forgotten the name of it, but you only get it in Japan. It makes such a weird noise. It's like it's whinging. It's got a single disc brake on the front and the rear. Stopping power is perfectly adequate. Now, at 6'1", this is what I look like on the bike. It's a pretty good position. It's relatively comfortable. It's quite tall, and because the seat is relatively flat, it doesn't step up that much, there's a fair amount of movement, which is nice. So for taller riders, this bike is perfectly good. If you are a bit shorter, like I found out earlier, if you go back and watch my previous video, I went to a cafe and I met a lovely Japanese lady who ran the cafe, and she had an awesome old classic Kawasaki, and she looked at this bike and she said, oh, there's no way I could sit on that, and it's too tall. She wasn't that short, probably 5'4", 5'5". I mean, I suppose that's quite short. So if you're under that sort of height, then you'll be no good on this bike, I'm afraid. So in conclusion, this bike, for the money, I'd say is pretty good. It is a nice bike. I do really like it, and everywhere I've gone today, you know, the biker cafe, the Harley Davidson dealership, they all wanted to come and look at the bike. They were interested in the bike. People out here definitely really like this motorbike, but I think I'd have to go for the Royal Enfield. And I'm not just saying that because I like Royal Enfields. Genuinely, I think the Royal Enfield has a nicer finish, and well, that's it really. It's got a nicer finish. So I'd go for the Royal Enfield. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments below. Everyone's got their own opinion, so that's my one. If you don't agree, let us know. If you do agree, let us know as well. But it's interesting to hear your thoughts. And all of you UK viewers, let us know, do you think they should bring this bike to the UK? Because I think we've got no Hondas that are modern classic bikes anymore in the new lineup in the UK, and we need some, especially that CBX 1100. What a beautiful bike, and they still sell it in Japan. It's stunning. I saw one a week ago in the Kusatsu onsen town, and what a beautiful bike. I just stopped and stared at it. I thought, oh my God, Why don't they make that for the UK anymore? Regulations, unfortunately. But something along those lines needs to come back. But hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully you have found it insightful. Hopefully it's long enough. I can't really tell. I've not done a review for a couple of weeks, but I'm going to carry on with my vlog. So if you haven't seen that, go back and check it out, because as of filming this, I haven't finished filming that yet. That's the beauty of YouTube magic. But we'll see you on the next one. Make sure you're subscribed, and see you later.